What is up guys, it's Solheim here, back with another Wrath of the Lich King Classic video. Today we are talking about leveling up in Wrath of the Lich King, and we are talking about and comparing two different leveling strategies to go from level 70 to level 80, dungeon leveling versus questing. This video will not be a guide on either one of those two methods of leveling up, it is strictly a comparison between the two different methods, helping you find out how you want to level up in Northrend. So with that said, let's begin. Let's start with questing. Questing is easy and follows a pretty straight path, and as long as you do what you are told, the progression is easy and linear. Questing also gives you various types of gear while leveling up, usually green items, so lower quality than dungeons, but by completing every single quest, you will usually get a gear replacement in every single item slot, whereas dungeons only offer you a couple of upgrades for select item slots. Questing will give you various reputation with different factions throughout Northrend, and I'll touch a little bit more on this later in the video, but reputations are actually quite important in Wrath of the Lich King, even though attunements and heroic dungeon keys have been removed. Questing also gives you the most gold while leveling up, as you usually get raw gold plus vendorable items from completing quests, plus additional mob loot from killing mobs while doing those quests, whereas dungeons only offer you mob loot and boss items. Another thing that I personally really like about questing is that you actually get to experience the entirety of the new expansion. You get to experience each zone and what it has to offer as you complete quests all around it, and if you care about lore, you get to experience that as well through questing. It is also just more exciting than doing the same dungeons over and over. Okay, one last thing about questing is that it also allows you to skill up your professions while leveling up, and also make gold while leveling up, especially if you have gathering professions like herbalism, mining or skilling, and the prices of these materials will be sky high early in Wrath of the Lich King, so that gold making potential while leveling up is actually quite decent. Next up then, dungeons. Dungeons are also really easy to do, but it doesn't really follow as linear of a progression path as questing does. Rather, you want to grind a specific dungeon from level 70 to 73, then upgrade to another dungeon from 73 to 75 or 76, for them to upgrade once or twice more throughout level brackets. What makes dungeon leveling truly worth even talking about, in my opinion, is the competition for mob tanks in the open world. Remember how bad this was in Classic WoW's launch and TBC Classic? Even in TBC Classic, where we had multiple layers, it was incredibly difficult to get mob tanks in the first two zones, unless you had a really good plan to get ahead of the curve. Spamming dungeons makes it so you don't have to worry about mob tagging at all. When you enter Northrend, you just run to your dungeon, and you start spamming and leveling up without caring about how many people are struggling completing their quests in the open world. This is a point that could end up being what makes a lot of people go for dungeon leveling in Wrath, and it's one of many factors that makes dungeon leveling even worth considering. Next up then, if you are going to go for dungeon leveling in the later levels, there are some reputations that you might want to start working on a little bit to squeeze that extra bit of effectiveness out of your dungeon farming, as you can acquire tabards, I think that's how you say it, tabards, to obtain reputation inside dungeons. Different reputations are important to different classes and specs, like for example, casters want to focus on the Kirin Tor reputation for their head enchant, physical DPS wants to focus on the Knight of the Ebon Blade for their head enchants, tanks want to focus on the Argent Crusade, and healers want to focus on the Wormer's Accord. One more bonus of dungeon leveling is saving up quests for later, because doing quests at max level will convert the experience you would have gotten from that quest into gold instead, giving you even more gold from those quests, and doing quests all over Northrend at level 80 is actually a really decent way of making some raw gold pretty quick, as you can fly throughout the zones and do the quests incredibly fast and get several thousands of raw gold straight in your pocket. Speaking of gold, if you want early access to even more gold making methods in Wrath of the Lich King Classic, including gold farms and investments, make sure you check out my Wrath of the Lich King Classic gold guide through the link in the video description. This is a gold guide that I've made specifically for Wrath Classic, with the purpose of helping you make as much gold as possible by exposing everything I know about making gold in Wrath within that guide. Right now you can also use the code Solheim for 50% off when you do purchase the guide, and by purchasing the guide once you will also receive all of the future updates for free. One more thing about dungeon leveling before I move on is that it's actually incredibly fun if you have 5 people to play with. It allows you to just zone out completely from the race of getting ahead of the pack. You just group up and do dungeons together and have fun. So let's talk about some strategies. If you care purely about min-maxing experience per hour, dungeon leveling from level 70 to 75 is actually pretty quick, and from 75 onwards you start getting more experience from quests to the point where questing will probably be faster, and by dungeon farming from 70 to 75 in the right group, you could also get yourself ahead of the pack, so you can quest from level 75 to 80 without a lot of competition from mob tanks in the open world. That being said though, if we do look at this from an effectiveness point of view, it makes more sense to dungeon farm at higher levels, because that is when you get access to your tarbards for your reputations, the Wormrest Accord for healers could be accessed a little bit earlier, the Kirin Tor for casters could be accessed at level 75 to 76, but tanks and physical DPS won't get theirs before roughly level 78. No matter how you want to level... wow, really? No matter how you level up though, questing or dungeon farming, at level 78 to 79, you want to break off and start doing the Sons of Hodir questline to unlock the Sons of Hodir reputation as well, and you should definitely do this as early as possible to capitalize on as little competition as possible while doing that questline, as well as being able to do the dailies on day 1. All of this said, while dungeon farming or dungeon leveling was almost a must in TBC Classic for those attunements, or at least a lot of people did it, in Wrath of the Lich King you have a lot more freedom, and there's no real correct or wrong choice here. It is all up to your individual preference. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things for each of them to hopefully help make your decision easier, so hopefully I was able to do that somehow. If you did enjoy this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. It seriously helps out my channel a lot, and make sure you are subscribed as well so you don't miss out on future Wrath of the Lich King Classic content. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, plus some bonus videos every now and then, so make sure you are subscribed with those notifications on. And I'm also pretty curious about how you guys are planning to level up, so let me know in the comments down below, will you be dungeon leveling or questing? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.